The NBA world is about to explode. Trae Young's name just entered the arena. The Washington Wizards just shook the league with a $212 million power move. And now, the entire draft board is hanging by a thread. One decision, Dybantsa or Darren Peterson, could redefine the future of DC basketball forever.
Hannah, sources tell me that four-time NBA All-Star Trae Young intends to sign a 4-year, $212 million contract to stay with the Washington Wizards. This is essentially, Hannah, a maximum contract for Young to stay with the Wizards. Remember, back in January, he left the Atlanta Hawks after 7.5 seasons there because he wanted to play for one team and one team only, and that's the Washington Wizards. While they were in the midst of a time period of a rebuild, he decided that he wanted to trade there. He landed there, and now the team has completely turned it over with Trae Young there. They have Anthony Davis. They got him at the deadline, and now the number 1 overall pick coming in as well for this team. So this essentially is Trae Young and the Wizards. You're stamping his commitment level moving forward. He's not going to be a free agent. He's signing a 4-year, $212 million deal to stay in D.C.
Jeremy Woo is here. King McClure is here. Welcome, gentlemen. We've heard about this commitment to Trae Young. Obviously, your latest mock, which he apparently reads all the mocks too, that dropped this morning. He's still number 1. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all connected, right? I mean, look, the Wizards have been pretty quiet about this. They've been taking their time deciding between Dybantsa, Darren Peterson, two guys who are, the margin between them is very, very thin. Now, when it's that thin, some of this can come down to fit a little bit. And I think now knowing that this large financial commitment is coming to Trae, who they traded for to build around, you wonder about fit. You wonder about Darren Peterson, who wants to play point guard at the next level. Does it make sense for him in Washington? Or do you go with Dybantsa, who gives them a different type of athlete, a guy who can get downhill? Kind of changes the dynamic of their team a little bit, building forward. Because again, 4 years it's locked in. That's the duration of a rookie deal. So it lines up with whatever max extension you're going to give the next guy. So I think my guess and the vibe around the NBA seems to be AJ, but haven't changed the mock yet. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
You know, it's really interesting because a lot was made, obviously, of Darren Peterson saying, I'm only going to work out for the Wizards. You know, I want to be number 1. But we have learned that he did also meet with the Utah Jazz. Who should go number 1, King?
I'm going with AJ. You know, when I look at the full grand scape of things, I always ask myself, how can you impact the game outside of scoring? And we know that AJ led the country in scoring. But Darren Peterson had his moments, really loud moments, where he put on a show and showed us his shot making was elite. So I think that when we ask the question of how can you make an impact greater than just scoring, it's AJ, because he had 11 games where he had 5 assists or more. To me, when you talk about his playmaking at his size, that's what separates him, right? You talk about his 7-foot+ wingspan, his athleticism. When you break all of those down, there's no doubt in my mind he is the best prospect in this draft. When we sat down with Kevin Young at the Combine, he said his passing ability is his most underrated thing in this game that nobody talks about. His ability to come off the ball screen, make the right read, pick on the backside tag, or throw the lob to Cater that we saw time and time again. I think that's what makes him special.
Has Peterson answered all the questions about his health going into this?
Yes, because unlike the old days, teams could not every team got everyone's health information. Now in the new CBA, everybody has to get the health information. But I just want to pause and raise a glass.
Okay.
to Trae Young and his agents.
Yes. Trae, you are like this. Smartest man.
Absolutely. And his father, Ray, is one of his agents.
Yeah.
What an absolute jaw-dropping deal
unbelievable,
for him.
Right?
In speaking to the Wizards today, they're very happy to get Trae Young under contract.
Okay.
This doesn't preclude them, they say, from taking Peterson with the number 1 pick.
Oh, really?
Now, whether we believe that or not is a different story.
But just smoke and mirrors there?
You know, they are saying that they will take, and they've done a very good job to this point. I don't want to talk outside of school, but I don't think this Trae Young deal was agreed to in the last 10 minutes. I think
this has definitely been
they've done a very good job of keeping their cards close to their vest.
Okay.
They're going to try to keep doing that. However, I think the league will probably say this is an indication that they will follow what Jeremy has projected, which is AJ Dybantsa first. But they say no.
Bobby, your thoughts?
I wish I could pick all 3 players, including Cameron Boozer. I love this. I love this.
The NBA world watches, but in the NBA shadows, something far more dangerous just detonated. A $212 million signal just echoed through Washington. A franchise once buried in rebuilds is suddenly at the center of a storm so loud, it's shaking the entire draft board. Because now, everything revolves around one name, Trae Young. Four-time NBA All-Star, a man who didn't just change teams, he redirected an entire franchise timeline. And now, the question is no longer if the league will react, it's how violently it will collapse around this decision. Because when the dust settles, the Washington Wizards may not just be rebuilding anymore. They may be building a dynasty or a disaster. And what happens next isn't just a contract. It's a power shift that rewrites everything in Washington. Sources circle one number like it's radioactive. 4 years, $212 million. That's not just money. That's a declaration of war on uncertainty. Trae Young is not testing free agency. He is locking himself into Washington, fully, completely, without hesitation. And remember, this didn't start here. Back in January, he forced a seismic move out of the Atlanta Hawks after 7.5 seasons. Not for comfort, not for nostalgia, but for one reason: control of his future. Now, in Washington, everything has changed. The Washington Wizards are no longer a rebuild story. They are a consolidation of power. A $212 million franchise anchor in Trae Young at the deadline, and now the #1 overall pick looming like a weapon waiting to be unleashed. This is no longer development. This is construction of a superstructure, or collapse under its own ambition. But if Washington is building something unstoppable, then the entire draft board is now the battlefield. At the center of chaos sits a decision so thin, it feels like fate. 2 names, 1 future. AJ Dybantsa versus Darren Peterson. And the margin between them? Very, very thin. That's not scouting, that's uncertainty at its highest level. Peterson brings flash, shot-making brilliance, scoring explosions that light up arenas. But Dybantsa? He brings something different, something structural. 11 games with 5+ assists, a wingspan over 7 feet, athletic chaos in transition, playmaking that bends defenses without needing the ball to dominate. Even Kevin Young reportedly highlighted it. His passing is the most underrated weapon in the entire draft class. So the question becomes brutal. Do you take the scorer who dazzles or the connector who builds ecosystems? Because now, fit matters more than talent. And Washington's new financial reality around Trae Young changes everything. One wrong pick doesn't just cost development. It fractures a $212 million timeline. And behind the scenes, the debate isn't just happening in front offices, it's exploding inside the media machine. Inside the analyst war room, voices collide. Jeremy Woo and King McClure are split right down the middle. One side sees structure, the other sees explosion. McClure leans AJ Dybantsa. He doesn't just score, he impacts everything. Playmaking at size, defensive potential, transition violence. A player who doesn't wait for the game, he bends it. Woo sees something more complicated. Fit is no longer theoretical, it is financial reality. Because when you commit $212 million to Trae Young, you are not drafting in a vacuum anymore. You're drafting inside a system already built around a star. And then comes the controversy. Peterson reportedly said he would only work out for Washington. But leaks reveal he also met with the Utah Jazz. Now everything feels staged, controlled, engineered. Is this a draft evaluation? Or a negotiation war disguised as basketball? And somewhere in the background, Washington insists we are still open to Peterson at #1. But nobody believes that anymore. Not really. And as rumors intensify, one question starts to dominate everything. What does the league actually know that we don't? The draft isn't just analysis anymore. It's deception. Peterson's health evaluations, once a question mark, are now fully cleared under modern CBA transparency rules. Every team sees everything. No secrets, no hiding. But still, confusion spreads. Why? Because even with full information, interpretations differ violently. Some executives believe Peterson is the safer pick. Others see Dybantsa as the generational connector. And Washington? They're playing both sides, publicly stating, "This deal doesn't lock our draft decision." Privately, the league whispers otherwise. Because a $212 million extension doesn't sit quietly in the background. It pulls decisions toward itself like gravity. And as the Wizards tighten their structure around Trae Young, one truth becomes unavoidable. One truth becomes unavoidable. The draft is no longer about talent. It's about alignment with a system already built. And when the dust finally settles, the consequences will stretch far beyond Washington. This isn't just about a contract. It's about a fracture point in the league's future. Washington Wizards are no longer rebuilding. They are accelerating. With Trae Young locked in at $212 million, Anthony Davis stabilizing the front court, and a potential #1 pick about to reshape the core. The entire Eastern Conference is watching in silence. Because if AJ Dybantsa lands here, Washington becomes a transition nightmare for every defense in the league. If Darren Peterson lands instead, you get a pure scoring system built around isolation brilliance. Either way, the league does not get a neutral outcome. It gets escalation. And somewhere in this chaos, one truth echoes louder than everything else. One truth echoes louder than everything else. This decision will not just define Washington. It will define what modern team building even means. Because when the announcement finally drops, it won't feel like a draft pick. It will feel like the start of a new era, or the beginning of a collapse no one saw coming.
Yo, mic check 1 to 2, -1, -2. Game over for this video, folks. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to stay in the huddle for more. This is NFL Madness, bringing the heat and signing out.